Orca Security, and I have the pleasure today to host Guy Bejvano from co-founder and CEO at SafeBreach, former CEO at LivePerson, Michael Cortez, co-founder and CEO at Altitude Network, former CISO at Twitter, and hopefully shortly, Gerald Falton, co-founder and CEO at Lucidium and former CISO at Splunk, will join us. So it's going to be a very interesting panel about CISO to founder and the thing that we learned when we stopped being CISOs. So let's start by introducing you guys. Michael, can you start and tell us a bit about yourself? What are you doing in Altitude Networks?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me. A little background on myself. Before making the big jump to co-found Altitude Networks, I was previously the CISO at Twitter, which was full of many interesting challenges every day, as you can imagine. Previously, I've been at another startup, Shape Security, which was exciting, recently acquired by F5. I was head of security at Mozilla for a number of years. You may still remember Firefox, nice loyal following. And then my background to that was basically hands-on attack and penetration and also defense. So I really cut my teeth actually breaking into banks, governments, et cetera. And through all that, I spent a handful of years, about 6 years actually, on the OWASP board, which was a lot of fun. But now at Altitude Networks, we are building a solution for data security in the cloud. So if you are using platforms like G Suite or Box or other cloud collaboration platforms, you probably want to protect your data, make sure it's not shared in the wrong ways, lost, stolen during offboarding, contractors, et cetera. I actually wanted to buy a product like this while I was at Twitter, and no one made one, to my surprise. So in the entrepreneurial spirit, off we went to create the solution. It's been about 2 years, going really well, actually. So it's quite exciting. I'm looking forward to talking about lessons learned through this panel so far.
So interesting. Guy, can you share us a bit about SafeBreach and what caused you to take the jump and change to the different role?
Of course. Thanks, Avi, and thanks, Icon, for setting this up. So a little bit background. I spent many years in the industry, 14 years of them in the Israeli Air Force, and actually led security operations and build red teams. And then I had several CISO roles before I started SafeBreach, which was about 6.5 years ago. The last role that I took was CISO at a company called LivePerson, online chat platform, became an engagement platform. We serve most of the big Fiservs and telcos in the world, and part of that process, I'm talking about back in 2007. Cloud was a big red flag, and I was always kind of struggling. How can we show our security posture to our customers and prove that we have, the right level of security posture, and they can do business with us and actually bring all their data to the cloud. And with that, I realized that there's nothing in the market that can help me to really understand what is the ongoing security posture that we have, and if our controls are effective or not. And that's how SafeBreach came to life. We've built a platform that literally attacks your infrastructure and show you where you have gaps and helps you to mitigate them on the fly, so you continuously improve your security posture. And actually leveraging the one thing that people don't realize, that it's our playground, and we set the rules, and we have the ability to have the upper end against the attackers. So we're leveraging all this offensive knowledge in order to improve our security defense. And what kind of made me to jump to that side, that was the moment that I was asked to come and present to our board. My CEO back then asked me to make a statement that no one can actually access and steal credit cards from a database. And I told him, I cannot provide such a statement, but we can definitely start, try to understand what are the paths that attackers might have. And that led me to realize that there's nothing in the market and I need to build it.
Interesting. Gerald, thanks for joining. So good to introduce Gerald Falton, the co-founder and CEO of Lucidium. Do I pronounce it right?
So long as you pronounce it, you can't pronounce it wrong.
Former CISO at Splunk. So can you share us a bit about Lucidium, if you are sharing, if whatever you can, and a bit about yourself and what caused you to make the jump?
Yeah, thank you, Avi. It's a pleasure to be here. So at Splunk, where I was the Chief Information Security Officer, we were big on, you might be surprised to learn, that I didn't have a licensing problem for my software. And so we ingested all kinds of data all the time. And from those particular use cases were especially helpful. Being able to look at context of events, being able to ascertain more than just there's a vulnerability here, but pieces that you all contribute to that picture. So what do I have in my infrastructure as a service? How does it merge with how users are treating my stored and shared documents and email? And then intra my systems, are they vulnerable to lateral movement? How we can, like, these are all pieces of the puzzle. And although we're in stealth mode right now, what we decided to tackle is what's the most boring fundamental problem that seems to be assumed to be okay that make all of your products amazing. So we're working on basic math, not even algebra, but solving basic problems.
Interesting. Thank you. So many people many times talk about roles and what is the strategy and how our life changed when you make a switch in position. I really think that the best way that the audience can get a taste of our change is to talk about a typical workday, not a year, but a typical day. So, Guy, I'll start with you. Can you share how your typical day changed when you made the jump from a CISO to a founder?
That's a great question. I would say that in both roles, you don't sleep a lot. So your day is really long. I'm based in the Bay Area, and I moved here 5 years ago from Israel. So for me, the day starts at around 6, 7 a.m. and ends up at 1, 2 a.m. because I need to catch both time zones and work with the team in Tel Aviv. Also, we have customers in Asia Pac, and so we cover most of the day. I would say that the topics, the items that you manage as a CEO obviously get a wider aspects of things because you're dealing with more things than CISO, but there's a lot of similarities actually found over the years that through my CISO time that really helped me as a CEO. Some of the things is being able to not only understand the risks but also the opportunities of the business, because if you're a good CISO, then you're building towards these opportunities and enabling the business. Similar thinking, you're as a CEO, you need to kind of pave the way and build the unstructured road before the company. CISO needs to be proactive as well. Things like how you lead cross-organizational aspects in the company. So dealing, with product and finance and HR. A lot of similarities around that as well. A good CISO needs to understand them all, understand the business case, and drive towards solutions. And eventually, I would say that the responsibility is a bit different. So now you're responsible for, a lot of families and their income, especially in these days. So this is very special. And I think the creation, the things that you take, building your own vision into a business, this is the biggest change for me as CEO.
Interesting. Michael, how did your day change after you made the switch?
Some people ask me when I switched to being, the founder of a startup, the co-founder of a startup, your life must be so busy and so chaotic. Is that true? I'm like, well, yes and no. Yes, there's tons that you do. You think about it all the time. Every aspect of your business is in your mind. You think about different scenarios, what could go well, what couldn't go well. But at the same time, my role before was pretty chaotic too. So with, at CISO of Twitter, like any time there could be a world event that would dramatically change my week or month. So on some hand, that stress went away, which was pleasant. But I would say the biggest shift in that transition, as a CISO, you're thinking about your comprehensive security program, you're meeting with stakeholders, you're driving change, you have risk management programs, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're doing that well, you're thinking about fundamental security controls being applied at business scale and speed, which is not easy. The migration to a founder role really was exciting because it lets you focus more on one specific problem that you're going to deliver with very high quality to hopefully a large number of people. And that was really exciting for me with Altitude Networks. The problem of data security in the cloud was one I recognized at Twitter, and we knew we had to build progress towards it, amongst many other things as well. And now being on the other side and being able to innovate and able to take an idea and say, we could find when someone shares data with a personal Gmail account, we could automatically build that mapping and highlight that easily in the product for our customers. Or we could index and understand when people install third-party apps that are pulling corporate data from their central G Suite off into unknown third-party storage systems. And that was really exciting to be able to take that idea and really run with it. But the way your mind has to shift, though, from the CISO world to the founder and CEO world is you can't just be thinking about the absolute technical detail. You have to be remembering, how does this go to market? What will customers love? What is the trade-off between the next great feature and perfection of existing features? And then you also get to be the janitor. Like, every problem that has no answer becomes your problem. And so you get really non-technical things like, so we need to do payroll. People want to get paid. How do we do that? Well, you are the person to figure that out. Healthcare, we should do that too. And so there's also a ton of issues like this. So if you're thinking about becoming a founder of a startup and you're going to be in the CEO role, be aware that any unsolved problem, no matter what it is, becomes your problem, and get a good comfort for tackling those things. But it's been fascinating. I've loved every step of it, and I do encourage CISOs to make the leap, because we bring this unique understanding of the space that really cannot be emulated by an outside vendor trying to guess what people might like. Like, we just intrinsically know, like, of course, these are the things you want. I would buy it myself this way. And that's really powerful to have as part of your bench as you build a company.
Interesting. Gerald, how did your days change after you became a founder from a CISO?
So Guy and Michael gave great answers, and I want to say +1. You asked me, how did my day change? So let me answer how my day changed. When I was the CISO, my alarm went off at 3:45, and I started by getting a workout in, typically listening to security podcasts on 2x speed. When I shaved and brushed my teeth, I was always listening to the Storm Center. I broadcast about new vulnerabilities that came out, so that when I got in my car at 6, which I have to do to beat the Bay Area traffic to get to work within 90 minutes, so that I could get on the phone and call people and say, hey, I just heard there's a new vulnerability in Palo Alto. Did we know about it? Typically, they'd say, yes, we're on it, but I needed to make sure. I'd always have one-on-ones on the drive-in because I'd done my podcast listening. And by the time I got into the office, it was time to batten down the hatches with partners. What's changed? What's new? Who are upset? What rumors are going on in the corporation? How do you keep the team aligned and together? And then typically the rhythm is, for the stretch of the afternoon, it is either we have OKRs, or we have budget, or we have reviews coming up, or there are projects that require that executive overview for the integration with others in cross-functional. By the time I'm ready to come home, and when you're ready to come home, you look at Waze, and Waze says, hey, it's 90 minutes to come home. So you might as well stay for another half an hour, because that'll be 45 minutes to come home. And so you take that last little bit and meet with people who are finally relaxing after the end of the day, because like now it's 6:30 at night. And that's when you have a little personal time with people. So that's kind of the day in the life of a CISO. It's the greatest job in the world, I thought. And it's the worst job in the world, like combined together. There's no middle ground. CISOs live a bipolar existence. Having switched to be a founder, I wake up every morning and I realize how ignorant I am. There's 1,000 things that I'm supposed to do that I have no idea how to do. And I spend the entire day trying to learn, scramble, catch up, and be competent. And by the end of the day, I think, as I look back, okay, nobody got hurt, nothing broke, we did okay. And I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm stupid again. And I've got to spend the whole day catching up. And it is fantastic. If you love to learn, and the support network is unlike, the CISOs have a great support network. They take care of their own. Founders do too. And I didn't know that. So it is pluses and minuses on both, but being a founder has been life-changing, positive.
Interesting. I'm still trying to comprehend the wake up at 3:45 a.m., as I guess most of our viewers does. So, do you still wake up at 3:45?
Yeah, early to bed, early to rise. That helps. You only get in trouble after 10 o'clock at night. So.
I'm an early riser myself, but I never thought that anyone wakes up before 4:30. But I guess there's always someone to take it earlier.
It's 4:30 somewhere in the world. So.
It's always 4:30 somewhere in the world, definitely. Michael, what are the things that you miss in your previous role, and on the contrary, that you love that you have in this new role that you didn't have before?
I think one of the things that you miss is the existing infrastructure in all places, both technology, people, organizations. I don't think you realize how powerful that is until you get to be the person to do all of those things. Send it over to the billing department. Oh, that is the billing department. Send it over, to the other departments. So that's one thing. There's certainly a transition when you're at a major company that everyone in the world knows, and you can mention that, and people are like, "Oh, I'm interested in hearing about that." That's a transition when you're in a new place. Now, I will say that I think in Silicon Valley, we are overwhelmed. Everyone's in a startup, and so we're just like, "Oh, you're in a startup. I'm in a startup." There's some great comedy sketches about that. When you go outside of our little bubble, plenty of people are interested in that too. So that's still there. But one of the things that I like a lot about the new role is the focus on innovation. Like, you do get to shut out a lot of other noise, and you get to say, like, this is what we're going to innovate on. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to deliver. We're going to be one of the first people in the world to do something like this, and we think we can do it at scale and empower all of these enterprises that use our product with this solution and make it easy. And one of the other reasons that I like the jump to founding a company was I finally, put my money where my mouth was. Like, I would look at companies I was at, and I'm like, I'm surprised that we made this decision as a company. It's not my department, so I can't really do much about it, but I'm surprised. If it was me, I might have done that differently. I said that a lot, and I think my wife got tired of hearing it. And eventually I thought to myself, if I think I'm so smart, I should go out and do it myself. And so I'm like, all right, I will do that. And we'll see. We'll see if I am so smart or not. But I love that responsibility. Like, it's yours to win or to lose. You have tons of other factors outside of your control, but every day you get to dive in there. And then the coolest thing past that is you're building this amazing team that you're working with that will ultimately determine whether or not you're successful. And you can do that in both roles. As a CISO, that was amazing too. But you just get this new army of great engineers, of great salespeople. You get an appreciation for departments that you didn't necessarily have before. Man, there's just so much to it. It's so eye-opening. I think Joel captured that well too. Like, it's just so much stuff you don't know, and if you are hunger for learning, it's just perfect for that.
I see. Guy, what are the things that you love that was new, and the things that you miss?
So, I think that guys here said that learning every day, and I've been doing this for 6.5 years, and for me, every day is a learning day. Building something from scratch. When we came out, there was nothing similar to what we do, and to see 6-7 companies trying to do the same today, this is great. For me, the biggest satisfaction and what I really love is to get to see the impact we have on customers. To get an email from a customer that says, I have a board meeting next week. Let's talk about what I'm going to present at a board meeting. That's everything. That's everything. And to get that type of feedback, directly from the market. The ability to take something that was your vision and to create a business around it. It's economical and people want to invest in. This is also another part which always, it never stops to amaze me. Kind of trying to look back and say, oh my God, we managed to do it. And when we started, we had VCs that came to us and said, well, we don't think it's not going to work. And these VCs came in later on in our B or C stages and wanted to lead the investment. Super satisfying. That kind of that thing of believe in yourself, believe in your vision, and Don't stop because people don't give you the right support. This is super critical, and I think Joel mentioned that, to have that support within the community. Things that I miss, actually, I don't know if I did it because I missed them or not, but I'm keeping in touch with the CISO's role today, even today as a CEO, not internally within SafeBreach, but I'm working with all of my customers. I have at least once a week meeting with either CISO or deputy CISO, depends on the size of the organization we're working with. And we talk strategy. We talk, what's the roadmap going to look like? What do they would love to see in our product? Some advice on their strategy internally. So I'm very much in touch with that role. So I don't miss anything because I still feel that I do that. And I also like to, again, give back to the community. I mentor as much as I can with my time, either young CISOs or young entrepreneurs. So I'm always in touch with that. I can proudly say that 2 out of my team members that worked for me at LivePerson already had CISO roles later on. So they grew up to that position. So this is great pride. And that's what I'm trying to kind of give back as we go. So I don't miss anything. I'm still very much in touch.
Interesting. Gerald, what about you?
So it's not 50-50, but I miss the security that arises from dependence, and I love the freedom that arises from independence. And that, to me, if you extrapolate from that, those are all the benefits that if you're considering. And like Michael, like Guy, we've talked with a lot of CISOs who, Michael said this earlier, he encourages them to explore this. That was the choice I had to make. Do I give up dependence for the gains of independence? And certainly you note the absence of the rewards of dependence. My team, the infrastructure, the guaranteed paycheck, all the things that come as a result of being dependent. But once you've got that settled in your mind, you can acknowledge they were benefits, but you don't miss them. And I don't. I miss the team, yes. I have affection for all of that. But the benefits of independence, being able to focus, pursue the solution to a problem. I'm at the stage where I don't have to worry about it being scalable. We're trying to solve the problem, and then we'll make it scalable. And so intellectually, it is a wonderful driving challenge.
Interesting. And I guess we have time for one question, so let's try to make it interesting. I'll appreciate if each one of you could think of one sentence that you'd wish you could have told your past self before making the jump, based on what you know today. Sentence, 2 sentences that you could go back in time and tell your previous self. So let's start with you, Guy. What would that be?
One sentence.
1 to 2. I won't be strict.
Yeah. No, I'll challenge myself for one. Take a deep breath. It's a long ride.
Michael.
I think it would be, this is going to be 4 sentences probably. Don't get too excited about trying to be bigger than you are. Embrace the smallness of each stage and fully leverage that. Have tons of conversations with your network that you have an idea. I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? We built this tiny piece of proof of concept. Do you want to try it? What do you think? Don't pretend to be bigger. Embrace that smallness and learn as much as you can before you get bigger.
Interesting. Joel, what would you tell your past self?
Say no to more things more frequently.
This is, I guess, great advice to everyone. Not common, but great. So, guys, thanks for joining. So, thanks the audience. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and hope that you have a great rest of your Icon virtual conference for today.
Great hosting.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Avi. Thanks, Icon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.